Today's episode is amazing. We're here with Doug Phillips, who was an RIS Media Rookie of the Year and closed an astounding 10 transactions his first year. In today's episode, we explore how Doug decided to enter real estate while he was in college, and he never looked back. Stay tuned to hear how this self-proclaimed introvert has achieved such amazing success, building his real estate business in just a few short years.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. I'm your host, Tina Lapp. I've been in real estate education for over 30 years, helping individuals enter and thrive in their careers.
Hi, I'm Frank Fields. I am the senior instructor with Superior School of Real Estate in North Carolina, the largest real estate school in North Carolina. I'm also an active producing broker. I've been in real estate for over 25 years, and I've been a real estate instructor for 15.
So excited for today's episode. We are here with Doug Phillips. Doug, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, and what company you're with?
Absolutely. Thanks, Tina. I am Doug Phillips, and I am with Keller Williams Seven Hills here in Cincinnati. And specifically, I'm on a team, so I'm on the Chabris Group.
Doug, let me ask you this. What were you doing before you got into real estate?
Yeah, so I actually was at a company called DeBraw Kemple. So it was a local mechanical contracting company, and just assisting a lot with the sales department as well as the vice president. So I started to get a taste of sales when I was there, with some of the people that would go out and quote and do surveys for, chiller replacements or rooftop units and these large pieces of equipment. So I got a little taste into the sales world. Shortly after that, I actually moved to a professional wholesaling company for real estate. And that was the position I had right before starting to get my license. So,
well, yeah. Then what inspired you to do that? I mean, what caused you to think I need to get a license?
Yeah, so my wife actually sent me the Indeed job description for where I work currently, and she said, it seems like the reviews are great and the experience looks good, and she's known that I've actually been managing and investing real estate for about 8 or so years. I actually got involved doing tax lien and tax deed auctions. And so between that and now my business partner and I, we own a couple 5-unit apartment buildings here in Cincinnati. I kind of just parlayed that into my residential license. And so I figured I would take the chance. I would get licensed and kind of see where that took me.
Now, did anybody influence you as far as deciding, where you wanted to go, where you wanted to work? I mean, how did you wind up where you are?
So I think a light bulb actually, that's a good question, Frank. I think it kind of went off when I was at Ohio University. I remember because I was reading Arnold Schwarzenegger's memoir, Total Recall. And, I think a lot of people think Arnold got very wealthy off of, acting in his bodybuilding career, which he did for sure. But he actually started developing and buying property around the Santa Monica area. And so a light bulb went off at my first semester at Ohio University. And, about 6 months later, I got my feet wet. And that's when I started doing things like investing in tax liens, tax deeds, and then buy and holds around Cincinnati. So that was, I would say, my first, the first taste I got of real estate. And then, honestly, Frank, I had an interview with our business manager and director of operations here at the time. And I got such a great experience that when I walked in, I committed to actually, joining the team before I even had any of the license layouts just prepared. So
Wow.
I immediately went home, I remember, and I started studying, and I crashed course, did the whole program, the whole 120 hours as quickly as I could. And here we are.
So
Wow,
Doug,
awesome.
I'm sorry.
No, that's awesome. Thanks.
Doug, how'd you decide to, like, where you were going to school, how you were going to take classes? How'd you make those decisions?
So yeah, I think like most high school students, we, kind of told, go to college, go to post-secondary, get the degree and so forth, which of course, there's a need for that. Absolutely. About half a semester in, I just remember telling my sister, like, I just really don't feel like this is for me. College is very expensive. I went there for things like dietetics, nutrition, thinking I wanted to do something with that. And I couldn't see a career out of it. And so it was really just, my wife, really, she's always supported me. And, she always has just great insights. So she gave me that job description through Indeed and just coming in and interviewing. And I just had I don't know how to describe it. I just had a really good feeling when you walk in, and you can tell, I'm sure, when you go in a job interview and you feel kind of stressed or tensed, or maybe the atmosphere isn't right. I didn't have any of those feelings. And I just kind of made a blind faith commitment to deciding to get my license that day, paying the fees, starting the studying, and getting the test scheduled.
Mm-hmm. And did you take your classes in the classroom, online? How'd you complete them?
Sure. So part of the pre-onboarding process for where I started was our business manager had a layout of different schools and the processes and everything from getting the fingerprints done to the background test to submitting the fees and setting up your test and all that. So Allie is our business manager here, and she had a couple resources, Hondros College, CE school, and so I just chose the CE shop. It was just kind of one of the two, and I could do it online. And I made that decision, and luckily I had some reserves like put aside, and then my wife working full time. That honestly, Tina, I just treated it like a full time. If I wasn't working 8 hours, which I wasn't. I was in front of my laptop with flashcards. Even my wife bought me like a Ohio studying book as well, because I'm just notoriously a poor test taker. So yeah.
That's great. And so how long did it take you to get through those classes? You really have to be disciplined when you're taking online, right? And so from the time you signed up to the time you completed, how long did it take?
Yeah, so it was, I would say, mid or late October from when I signed up for the licensing course materials to, I remember taking my test, I think it was December 16th. So I mean, it was 8 hours or so a day plus of studying and getting through, the modules if you're taking it through online course. So about two months or so, maybe a little less than 8 weeks.
Yeah, good for you. That's pretty quick, getting through and being disciplined, holding yourself accountable. What was the biggest challenge kind of balancing life and taking these courses?
Yeah, so I've always kind of considered myself pretty disciplined. I came actually from a competitive bodybuilding background, and so I just always saw myself, whether I was getting ready for a competition or my nutrition or weight training, I was used to putting in a lot of sweat equity, if you will, and so I just parlayed that discipline into more of a mental capacity and studying, and just knowing that myself, I was not a great test taker, just taking it all the more seriously, and knowing that this was my profession, my craft, and that there's no, yes, there's do-overs. You can take the tests again, of course, but this is our livelihood, and so really just taking it seriously and committing to those, every day. Just, when my wife clocked in at 7 or 7:30, I was hitting the books and just treated it like a job. I mean, like studying for a job.
Yeah, Doug, it does sound like you were very focused, 2 months to complete your course. That's awesome. What were your expectations once you did? I mean, what did you think it was going to be like once you hit the ground in the real estate world?
Yeah, so definitely getting my feet wet. It's, we all, I think, are subjected sometimes to these HGTV shows, and there's a lot of, I think, ideas of maybe what a realtor should be and what they shouldn't be. So that's actually a really great point, Frank, because I necessarily didn't get licensed during the easiest of times. I mean, interest rates this was heading into 2023. So they were on the rise up to close to about 8%, I think, of October of 2023 is when they kind of hit the highest that they've hit in a while. So, we're looking at folks who are kind of handcuffed to their home at a 3% interest rate or less. We're looking at inventory levels that we haven't seen.
Low inventory levels. Right?
Very low, yeah, in about 30 years. So, and of course, different technology, different practices, the NAR lawsuits taking place. A lot of
uncertainty about that, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a lot of, my boss Peter says, the first years are definitely the hardest, and it's true. I mean, you're learning marketing, contract negotiations, lead generation, time blocking, essentially how to run a business. I mean, we're independent contractors, but at the end of the day, we do kind of run our own business. So that first year was definitely a lot of sweat equity put in as well.
So how long before you had your first transaction? How long after you started?
About 3 months or so. It was a cash off market deal. It was a condo that's actually one of my good friends. Her father was moving up from Florida, and I didn't know what I didn't know. So I just started hitting up the real estate groups, and lo and behold, someone had an off-market condo. So we played matchmaker, and it was a cash transaction, and it closed in 10 days or so.
So your first client was from your personal sphere of influence, somebody you knew, a friend, right?
That's correct. Yep.
So that's great, but that you can't build an entire business on that. What did you do to market yourself now that you're in the industry, and let people know and find leads?
For sure. So, one of the benefits, again, I am on a team, and so there are some of course, benefits with that. One of them being inbound leads that we get, whether they're through Google pay-per-click, someone typing in our name, are literally our for sale signs in the yard. So there's a lot of inbound leads coming to us as well. So, and then we of course make all the calls and connections, as well as just, all my friends and family. They've also known that I've been investing and managing real estate. So for me, the conversation wasn't as difficult as, hey, I'm newly licensed. It was, hey, I decided to just take my experience. I love helping people. I love, connecting and being a team player and making sure everybody fits a win-win situation. So that was more of my conversation on the marketing and outbound lead generation aspect. Another benefit that we've got here within our group is we've got a fantastic success coach, and so we will do scripting and role playing, and we still do that to this day. So it's just incredibly beneficial for how to handle objections, how to go over compliance and contracts, and what to do if X scenario pops up. So even though I was new, I felt very confident and competent talking to veteran agents that, say an appraisal gap issue came through, or there was a title issue, or, how do we structure a post-closing occupancy? So I felt very comfortable than just kind of going out and winging it. So that's another resource we have as well. I felt comfortable when I, marketed myself, even though I'm new. I've got this whole, team of specialists behind me, and we have a 200 plus years of collective real estate background that, we can probably solve any real estate scenario. So
what I hear you doing is leveraging the experience of your team, right? So
absolutely.
Yeah. And I also heard you say that, scripts and dialogues and then role playing, practicing those was really important to your success. What else would you do? That's the marketing part of it, but then a big part of this business is relationships, right? What do you do to build relationships?
For sure. That's a great question, Frank. So I'm a big networker. I'm not as much of what you might call a telephone terrorist or a cold call. I'll do it, of course. It is a part of my business model, but I'm also very much so people and business related. So I am in a BNI group, a business networking international group. So we meet weekly. I'm a big proponent of calling and talking to as many in my sphere property owners that I know, because we all, I think, want to build a listing-based leveraged business. And so if I can talk to property owners, friends and family that own property, they're going to, for the most part, need to relocate or buy or downsize or a trophy home, whatever that scenario may look like. And so a lot of times those can be 2-in-1 transactions. So I would say listings are more, skill-based and mechanical, as opposed to buyers, can be more of a process and an emotional process. So that was always my goal is meeting for I love doing coffee, coffee dates, lunch, all of those things, getting to, know these people, how can I help you? And really leveraging when I was I still manage property and invest. Hey, can I, Frank, connect you with a contractor, or Tina, I've got a great estate attorney. Now that the kids are grown, let's look at, estate planning and all these topics that I think a property owner would find beneficial.
So, and you mentioned the mentoring. You mentioned that you had people that mentored you. What's an example of somebody that occurred in the mentoring process, and how important would you say that is in your success?
For sure. In the ever-changing landscape that is real estate, and you don't have to join a team or, a great brokerage, even though obviously that helps. So if you don't kind of go that avenue, for sure, finding a mentor, someone that really has kind of walked the walk, and again, that leverage, right? You can leverage their knowledge, their expertise, their skills, their time. And so, for me, it was a few people. Of course, our success coach, Lisa here, who, does our contract classes. She helps scripting and role playing. James, he's our executive director, James Harris. He, for a while, was my one-on-one partner. So he's a little more on the candid side. We'll just say that, keeping you accountable. And then, of course, Peter, our CEO. Peter's he's just awesome. I mean, he's a national speaker. He actually will go into cities and train in teams and how to operate and build systems and processes. So,
and you're still doing that. I mean, it's just not like something you did and then you get beyond it. You continually engage in the mentoring and the role playing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And I'm also, I think you would say, a little more on the old school side, maybe. I mean, I'm in here usually 7:45, 8, just, preparing my day. Scripting and role playing is usually 10:30 to 11:30. So just, it's always making time for that. And never thinking, I think you're too big for something. Like an example, Peter, when he was, I think he'd be calling for sale by owners and expireds after the Great Recession, he'd actually have multiple, I believe, role-playing partners in different cities that, he'd call at 7:30 and, handle those objections and role play, and then he would hit the phones calling expired. So if someone who I think can sell anywhere from 80, 100 plus houses a year is still doing that, I don't think I'm too big to as well.
Doug, it sounds like you were surrounded by an incredible team, lots of training, your first year, lots of learning, and it sounds like lifelong learning, which I love. I'm a huge advocate for education. All this being said, what were some of the biggest challenges you faced during your first year?
Yeah, for sure. That's another good, really good question, Tina. Probably it's just, I think, the climate. Again, getting licensed in the middle of winter with interest rates, low inventory, an impending lawsuit, regarding buyer's agents, and so there was all just a lot of things at once. But I'm kind of glad I did get licensed at that time because not that it's now is any easier, but I have had a lot of those difficult conversations and objection handling, and I kind of know what to expect now when I talk to whether they're property owners or first-time home buyers, people on the fence about buying or selling. So that first, I would say, year was really just doing everything all at once, trying to get in the mindset of coming in the office. That wasn't hard for me, but just learning to operate as a business owner. And time blocking, I think, is key. And again, us as agents, our day gets for sure hijacked. But I learned that if I could time block and set up kind of bookends, that if I do lead generation, dedicated at least an hour and a half, 2 hours in the morning, everything else can kind of, I don't want to say get pushed to the side, but everything can be taken care of outside of those hours. Say even there's issues like a title issue comes back or appraisal or inspection, someone will email or text you that or call. That issue is still going to be there an hour or two later. I think staying in that mode of, what Jack Canfield would call your core genius, where like you're just operating, you're lead generating, and then doing those buyer and seller service calls or emails. So I think the term was client acquisition in the morning, client servicing in the afternoon. Just having those two distinct parts of your day.
That's great. And so as you're going through your first year, and obviously you're leaning on your team, you're learning, do you recall a particularly challenging transaction or one where you had to call in your support system to get through?
Oh, absolutely. One of my first properties that I listed was a small multifamily. And those in of itself have their own challenges. But I was working with a property manager who was defrauding my clients, as well as, so I was representing the seller, and the cooperative agent was a veteran buyer's agent who was trained by an attorney. So man, she was sharp. So what I learned from that is, and I always have, and I still to this day, but really to pay attention to the contract. Of course, we should all be doing that. But after that, I'm looking at it through a microscope, because there was just a particular instance with, for example, leased washer and dryer equipment. I, on my end, should have, for example, specifically excluded that. And it became a whole, big deal because understandably her client didn't want to inherit, that equipment. So that was rough. There was a lot of talk of getting brokers involved and termination and a lot of stuff like that. So that made for a pretty long day.
Yeah, I bet it was more than a day, but yeah. You're still learning, but understanding that. Any particular transactions or interactions that were funny that make you laugh to this day with a client?
Funny, I don't think really funny. I did have a really sweet, story. I was sitting in open house. It was vacant, and one of our lead inbound sources, I got a call. So it was a warm lead transfer, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank goodness you're the fourth realtor I've actually tried to call." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." She had identified a property she wanted to take a tour of. I said, "Great, just give me half an hour. I'm wrapping up here, and then I'll meet you over there." And so, we did. I met her and her husband over there, and we wrote an offer and got accepted. And it's crazy. I just think of some of the agents who don't pick up their phones. But when we got into the needs analysis, like why is this particular house or street important? Well, her daughter lives like 5 houses over. And so it was just really it was a really nice story. And just kind of the moral was, don't be too busy not to pick up your phone, and you never know where a phone call can lead. So I wish every phone call could be a nice, let's look at a property and write an offer and get accepted. But you do get those instances. So always be prepared.
An awesome example of a client interaction and very memorable. So you seem very focused, and I know, with your background in competitive athletics, you would assume be a goal setter, making plans for what the future looks like. What do you think your future looks like in real estate? Like if you were looking out at a 1-year plan, 5-year plan, where do you see yourself going?
For sure. And I love that question. I would say my most immediate goal, my 1 year, is to increase my production. I think by most, most agents want to do that. And then, now looking 3, 5, 7 years plus, I'd like to think of, so Gary Keller, who wrote The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, is along with Dave Jenks and Jay Papasan. Part of this section, he talks about having, when you're hiring, having cul-de-sac talent as well as capacity talent. And so for me, honestly, I love where I work. I want to be more of a value add and more of a capacity talent, someone who can grow and challenge, our leadership and add ideas, rather than just capacity talent, cul-de-sac talent, which is fine. You give someone a task, they'll probably do it well. But being in some kind of capacity where, we can grow, and, I love working with our agents. I love, at the time of this recording, we're the number 5 mega team in all of Ohio. So we're really proud of that. So anything that I can do to contribute, to increasing those, 4, 3, 2, 1, and so forth, as well as just our local presence here in Cincinnati. So that's kind of where my 5, 7, 10-year goal is.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, do you have any tips or tricks that you'd share with a, new rookie agent, somebody who's just gotten their license in the last, 30, 60, 90 days? What would your advice be to them?
So yes, great question, Frank. I naturally am an introvert. And so sometimes it can be draining to talk to people on the phone or at an event in person. But my recommendation really just would be to, put yourself out there. I was getting my brakes worked on at a mechanic here in Cincinnati back in April. And instead of dropping the car off and going and just, kind of wasting 3 hours, I just brought my laptop and started working. And there was a really sweet, looking lady there, and it was like a ghost town, just me and her. And I just struck up a conversation, and just saw how she was doing, what are you in for, so to speak, and, whatever, tire issue. And she eventually, it got back, what are you doing, or what do you do for work? And I said, I'm a realtor. I just brought my equipment, my work. And she said, oh my gosh, I need a realtor. My mother's just passed away. We need to sell her house. And we ended up I'm meeting her at her mother's house, and I sold her house off market. So it was a win-win for her as well as these buyers. And so you never know what someone could be going through, what someone could need. And although, it can be a little comfortable sometimes, just talking to people, I would think that would be the biggest thing, letting everyone know. Yeah.
I love that you acknowledge and share that you are an introvert, because I think that's going to be super encouraging. It would not, I think Tina agrees. We were surprised that, wait, Doug's an introvert? Yeah. You're very comfortable, but that's going to encourage a lot of people who see this and go, wait, I can do that too. So tips and trick stuff, do you ever do things like just wearing your name tag out in public? You ever find something like that gets you attention and starts a conversation?
Oh, for sure. I'll wear it. I'll try to wear it like when I grocery shop, places like that. Open houses as well. In terms of a lead generation business model, Frank, I love open houses. These are folks, for the most part, who are coming in. They are pretty much raising their hand that they may either be in the market like ASAP. They're like a for sale by owner. They literally have a sign in the yard like, I want to sell my house. Right. But no, they come in and it can be indicative of, I am ready to buy maybe now, or I'm just feeling out the neighborhood in 3, 6, 9 months or a year, or they could have a home to sell. So, if you're not comfortable like myself, on the phone all day, if you can just kind of muscle through and dedicate an hour and a half, 2 hours on a Saturday and or Sunday to an open house, I think if you did that consistently throughout a year, I think your pipeline of leads and clients would be pretty hefty. So that's what I like to do. And of course, I've got my name tag. I've got all my materials, and it's a great chance to, again, I love my suits and ties. Brian Tracy says everything that is either going to help or hurt you. So I treat an open house as an interview. So, I'm in there, I've got my name tag. I'm very well versed about the property and the neighborhood, so they don't catch me off guard. And so, yeah.
Nice.
So, Doug, we're going to jump into our lightning round. Just fun, whatever comes to mind. First thing, 60 seconds or less, awesome, so that we can learn a little bit more about you.
Sure.
The first thing I got to ask, and this was a tip to me, what's your favorite movie?
American Psycho, yeah.
And is there a particular reason why?
I love Patrick Bateman. I love the 80s too. I mean, I've got a flat top haircut. Like I something about the 80s. Everything seemed very fun. I love Suits. Some of the scenes were just outrageous. The music too. I'm a huge music fan. And so, I grew up with, Genesis. I grew up with, everything, Diana Ross, The Temptations, Barry Manilow, Elton John. All of these like singer-songwriters. And so the 80s, Cyndi Lauper just like scream fun and bright. And so, yeah.
So fun. I lived through that. Yes. Yeah. Is there a particular book or maybe a podcast that you'd recommend to the audience?
Sure. So I will have to say Millionaire Real Estate Agent, just because it is a little, dated. It's been, I think, about 20 years or so. But, I think very highly of Gary Keller for the real estate industry. I know I'm with Keller Williams and I may be a little biased, but I think truly if you look for advocacy of agents, consumers, as well as the industry as a whole, I think not many thought leaders have as much staying power as Gary, in the sense that, he's evolved with the times as well. He knows what the consumer wants, how to protect agents, as well as consumers, and shedding a whole light on the whole industry. And I love that his book, because we here have so many systems and models and processes that I think any agent, whether you're a solo agent, you're a small group, you're a team, you can put those practices into place. And, I love that he's big on numbers, and the path is in the math, right? So you can reverse engineer, say you have an X amount of income. Well, heck, you can reverse engineer how many conversations you need to have, appointments set, met, kept, files put under escrow to eventually, closings. So again, any agent or brokerage, I think, can always use that information.
Yeah. And it sounds like you have such a thirst for ongoing learning and knowledge and, understanding your craft. It's a beautiful thing. So Doug, if we had a time machine and we could go back to the day you started this journey, what advice would you give yourself, or what might you do differently?
Great question. I would probably really double down on my time blocking and really how I think I mentioned, I separated the lead generation from the servicing of the clients, because back then, you have one file under contract. You're like, if something happens, your whole day kind of gets hijacked with an inspection issue, or your client's upset, understandably, but a lot of times that would just really throw a wrench in my whole day. So for me, really just understanding we've got to always be focusing on client acquisition, business development, following up. And then after we do that, so after we have that bookend, the other bookend of, okay, where are we with, what fires do we need to put out? It's funny, we have our listing specialist, Tyler. He's amazing. He just sells so many homes. And a lot of times he'll go to our transaction coordinators in the morning, like, okay, what do we have to worry about, today, or what's going to go wrong, so to speak. So kind of dealing with that later and putting lead generation as a forefront.
Yeah, that's good. Good advice. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
Probably Michelangelo. I can barely draw like stick figures, and I look at all of the paintings and sculptures and everything that people did way back, Leonardo da Vinci, another one. And it truly blows my mind. And so you look at like the Sistine Chapel or David or some of these other masterpieces, and it blows your mind, I think. So I think he's truly fascinating, especially David. You just get this huge glob of marble and just, chunking away. And I've always really liked visualization as well. And so, knowing that, David was always there under the marble chunk and just kind of chipping away. It's like Van Gogh said, I dream my painting, then I paint my dream. Just visualizing, knowing David was always there. It's just, getting to that point. So little, I guess, philosophy there as well.
Gosh, Doug, you're so well-rounded. No wonder why clients are so attracted to working with you. And I love it. What did you do at work yesterday?
So it was the Super Bowl, but I did actually get some mailers. I mail to my neighborhood, my farm area I send them a newsletter every quarter, but they actually do get pieces every month just from our company. So yeah, yesterday was Sunday. I didn't have any showings or anything, but I did prepare some mailers. But nothing too eventful.
Yeah. But every day of the week, right? It seems like there's something. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So, Doug, where can listeners or viewers connect with you to follow your journey, follow what you're doing? What's the best place to connect or follow you?
Sure. So probably my Instagram, official Doug Phillips is my name or my handle. And then just Facebook, Douglas, Clarence Clay Phillips. So I have my full name on there, but our website is Ask TCG if anyone ever needs to find me on there as well.
That's awesome, man. Doug, I've enjoyed hanging out with you today, and you're very inspiring. And I think that other people who see this will recognize that they can take some of the plays out of your playbook, and they can succeed at this too. This is great. Thanks for sharing.
Absolutely. Thank you. And if I could just end on that, there are so many ways to skin a cat. And so some people make a business model of just calling for sale by owners or expireds or, using a dialer and circle prospecting or, Facebook market. There's so many different ways. And I guess to end with that is, finding what you excel, what you enjoy. Because I know that if I would have just done nothing but phone calls or try to convert for sale by owners straight off, the bat, I probably would have burned out. And so I needed a more well-rounded approach of, okay, we're gonna time block. We're gonna call, maybe expireds for this hour, and then we're gonna put some Facebook postings out, and then call my database. Like just really mix it up so that you don't feel like you're going to burn out.
That's a great point. I'd like to ask you this closing question on that. Would you say that, because it can be overwhelming for an agent, especially if you go to some kind of a convention or a seminar and you come away with, wow, 25 different ways that I can lead generate, that the agent doesn't need to try and do all 25. What would you suggest that they pick, just 2 or 3 and then focus on those and then stick with the ones they like and get success? Or how do you decide, if you don't like something, you're saying, don't do that, do something else. There's plenty to do out there.
For sure. I mean, it depends. I would at least maybe give it 60 to 90 days, because usually that's our in our business for conversion and contract to close. It can usually take to measure the results, I would say 2 to 3 months. So I want to just try it once or twice and then give it up. But if, consistently you're just, you pull up your laptop or your phone and you just feel drained for that particular activity, maybe reevaluate it. We have a couple agents on our team that their business model is probably 2 to 3 open houses a week, and they just get a recycling amount of buyers and sellers from that, because that's their business model. So what's the term? Digging your well deep rather than wide, so that you're really, like you said, Frank, focusing on potentially, 2 or 3 of those strategies at first, especially as a new agent. Because if you're trying to, what's the term? A master, or
jack of all trades, master of none, right? Doing
exactly.
Too many things. Yeah.
But if you can just say that, I'm going to be very, very competent in, my open house presentation and my circle prospecting, because they can kind of piggyback off each other. I can call you, hey, Frank, Doug Phillips, Keller Williams, I'm hosting an open house, blah, blah, blah. So you can throw some phone work in there as well as open house. And then you can even door knock. There's a whole thing to it, but really just getting competent on those limited activities, so that when you get better and more advanced, then you can maybe add another, Facebook ad spend or pay-per-click or Zillow.
What I'm hearing you say is you don't have to do stuff that you dread and that you just absolutely hate.
Correct. Yep.
Cool. That's good stuff. That's powerful right there.
That's great, Doug. I appreciate all your advice, tips, and tricks. Wish you tremendous success. I've really enjoyed our time here today, and congratulations on being a Rookie of the Year finalist.
Congratulations, awesome. Doug. That's great.
Thank you so much, Tina and Frank. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I appreciate the work that you guys are doing. So thank you again.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.